About that, we want to bring in Anthony Pompliano. He's the founder and CEO of Professional Capital Management. Anthony, it's great to have you back here on Yahoo Finance with us. Let's talk to us about, we saw your Substack come out last week. It really caught our attention, just this catalyst that you see for stablecoins on the heels of what we heard from Tesla last week. So walk us through your thesis and why you see that being a driver or an uptick here for stablecoin usage.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I think there's a lot of confusion in the market. People want to talk about artificial intelligence, they want to talk about machine learning, they want to talk about crypto, but it's all one big trade. It's all just automation. And ultimately, if you get the automation with machines, those machines are going to need to be able to transact with each other. And they're not going to be able to use 1 or 2 day settlement time money. So the beauty is that we now have these digital rails for money, which have instantaneous settlement. Now, a lot of people in the past have pointed to Bitcoin being one of those potential currencies, but I don't think that people or machines are going to want to spend their Bitcoin. If Bitcoin's going to be more valuable in the future, they're going to want to save that. It's like a savings account. Instead, they're going to want to use their checking account, which is digital stablecoins. So they're going to want to be able to spend dollars across digital rails. And I think that we are watching the rise of the machines and the rise of automation really just usher in a new era for money, and it's going to be dollars in this new digital form.
That's not good for Dogecoin, which Elon Musk has been very vocal about in the past, Anthony. All just aside, I guess as we think about where Tesla could be a conduit for cryptocurrency as a whole, how will the other companies within this landscape, especially if we do see more engagements like this take place where the different announcements that Tesla makes are also combined with what this could mean for cryptocurrencies, where might we see other similar activities from companies?
I don't think it's just a Tesla story. I think this is just a age of automation. And if you look at the humanoid robots, if you look at the self-driving cars, they all going to need to be able to transact. And one of the best examples is this isn't something that's going to happen overnight. It's actually a multi-decade trend. If you think about your car on a toll road, you used to drive up, stop, pull physical change out of your pocket and throw it into the toll. Then somebody had the grand idea, why don't we just put a sensor on the car, and the Easy Pass was born. Now I can just drive down the road and this new thing that I've attached to my car will actually pay. Eventually it's going to be built right into the vehicle itself. It's going to have a digital wallet that allows it to transact instantaneously. That Easy Pass still just is like credit. You end up paying it off at the end of the month or at a later date. And so I do think that this is agnostic to a single company. It's agnostic to a single type of machinery. It is something that is simply just the age of automation. And I think people are going to be very, very comfortable with their machines, whether they own them or rent them, spending money on their behalf. You already see this with people creating these artificial intelligence agents. I think you're going to see this with machines as well. And so your car is going to pay for things, your humanoid robot's going to pay for things, and you're going to sit back and be excited about them doing it.
So, and then you just given all that, I guess, how should then investors be thinking about their crypto allocation, or how much more bullish maybe does this make some of the calls that we've already heard on? Obviously, you've been bullish too, but some of the calls that we've heard out on the street just in terms of that usage and what exactly that maybe more realistically could look like here in the years to come.
I think being short automation is a really dumb idea. I think being short all of the machine learning and artificial intelligence is a dumb idea. I think being short cryptocurrencies is a dumb idea as well. The challenge for investors is figuring out where do you place your bets. When you have these kind of secular tailwinds and these technologies are obviously going to become more adopted, there will be companies within each sector that don't work. You can actually be right on the sector and wrong on the company. And so you need to be careful about which individual companies or individual cryptocurrencies that you're actually putting that capital towards. The nice thing about a stablecoin is most people aren't buying the stablecoin because they think they're going to make money. Right? $1 stablecoin is still worth $1 in the future. And so instead, these stablecoins really are just payment technologies, and it's going to be the companies that create them or the various technologies that support them that really accrue a lot of the value in the stablecoin sector.
Or the central banks. I mean, what are you anticipating on the central bank front? Are we going to see a consortium of central banks say, you know what, we'll all abide by this digital currency and this stablecoin, if you will?
I wouldn't hold my breath on central banks being innovative in the technology sector. I think that we've already seen private companies in the private sector push ahead, innovate here, and really gain a lot of global adoption. And so I'm sure central banks are paying attention to this stuff, but I think that there's a very big problem when it comes to some of these technologies being in the hands of a government or in a central bank. A lot of people are worried about surveillance. That is a concern, and people should call that out loudly. One of the things I'm more concerned is around personalization. So the idea that with the stablecoin, you could actually personalize monetary policy. You get a high inflation rate, I get a low one. That would be a very, very big problem. And you can easily see that slippery slope becoming something that would be destructive to a large portion of Americans. And so I think that while the central banks may be interested in the technology, keeping it in the private sector is probably a better idea.
And the last time you were on, we were talking about the political implications, 2024 election, what that means specifically to crypto. Since the last time we talked, we heard more and more from Harris's campaign just about the fact that she seems to be a lot more pro-crypto than maybe some have been initially expecting. I'm curious just to get your reaction to her thoughts and where you stand on whether or not one is still better than the other here for that pro-crypto legislation.
The challenge that Vice President Harris has right now is the more words that are spoken and the less action, it actually makes her look bad. The same is true on the other side, where President Trump is actually at a disadvantage at the moment. He can't act, whereas Vice President Harris can. And so I think that being the Vice President of the United States, the second most powerful person in the world, the single greatest thing that Vice President Harris could do to help win the crypto vote is to act, is to do things, stop talking about it and actually do things. And, you know, I do think that there has been this kind of desire to reset relationships. But in my conversations with people, both Republicans and Democrats in the crypto industry, they both are looking for action. And so if Vice President Harris wins, I think people are going to say, hey, what are you actually doing for us? Same thing if former President Trump wins. And so it'll be very interesting to see what happens here in the last, less than 30 days or so going into the election. And then also, whoever does win, do they actually fulfill these campaign promises, or were they just empty promises? It remains to be seen.
Yeah, and that certainly does come down to some of the down ballot voting too, because we know the current structure as it is would make it tough for any candidates to get something through, even if they wanted to. And that's where Harris might be hamstrung at this juncture, not having the balance of power or not having power in Congress as well, which is critical. Just as we are also thinking more internationally too, China was seen as one of the potential areas why crypto might be moving here on the day, and some of the stimulus that's been put into the economy there. How do you see that being a beneficiary for crypto, if at all right now, knowing that some of the ability to mine and some of the ability to transact had been quote unquote banned, but people figure out a way around it?
Yeah, crypto's in a really interesting spot. I actually don't think it matters at all for politics. Like, who the next president of the United States is going to be isn't dependent on who the crypto people vote for. I know crypto people, we like to think that it's important. We like to think that single issue voters are going to decide the election. They're not talking about this stuff. It's not been mentioned in any of the debates. It's not actually a topic that is going to determine who the president is. That is coming out of kind of this echo chamber. But if you do zoom out and you look globally from an investor standpoint, there's a lot that can be determined by these crypto assets. And so China and the United States both kind of shifting the regime back to a loose monetary policy, going ahead and cutting interest rates, expanding the money supply. All of that stuff is a tailwind for crypto. The nice thing is that it's also a tailwind for other assets as well. You see stocks, gold, and others going up. The thing that I think a lot of Bitcoin and crypto investors kind of hang their hat on is that these assets are more sensitive than others, meaning that if there is that regime change, which we've started to see, then these assets should outperform those other traditional assets. And that's where I think you get a lot of that asymmetry that people have been so proud of that hold these assets.
All right, Anthony Pompliano, always great to have you. Look forward to having you back again soon. Professional Capital Management founder and CEO.
Why would I vote for someone who doesn't respect me?
I don't think